Good unspecified time period. I am Richard, or Dararich, if you read it backwards for some reason.
And I am Karl, or Elrock, if you also read that backwards, which actually was the name of one of my D&D characters one time.
Man, I never ran through that character. Oh, was that... Was that the sorcerer where you used subtle spells so you didn't have to break your hiding to homing missile from, like, under a log?
Elrock was inspired by that goblin sorcerer.
Because that was my favorite flex you've ever made is, well, I can bonus action hide, so I'm a sorcerer. And subtle spell doesn't means I don't break noise, so I don't have to roll for fresh stealth. I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's magic missile. Like, if it was a spell with, like, somatic component, no, because you subtle spelled it. Yeah, no, that tracks. That was a great idea.
But Elrock was my roommate ran a campaign for a while. It only got up to level 6, but he was a stone sorcerer, which never actually got released. It was an unearthed arcana sorcerer's origin that allowed you to use your constitution instead of dexterity for your.
Yeah, I am really sad that never got printed, or at least an equivalency. Because so many characters, like I watch a lot of Tulok the Brewbarian, who does his various fictional characters once a week or 2 characters a day for a month last month, which was so much video. And he's always like, okay, almost everything has to be either barbarian or monk multiclassed to give you unarmored defense, because people just don't wear leather armor or plate mail in fiction. So what I would have done is, I have a homebrew feat that I never quite offered my players of, yeah, your armor class is just... is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your con modifier as a feat, and then you fix the problem of all these characters not having good armor yet being in fiction. Because Captain America should be wearing studded leather armor by D&D rules if you want to actually build his character well.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it is. Like, the modern fantasy characters don't actually wear armor. And so then if you want to recreate them in D&D, it's like, okay, well, you have barbarian, you have monk, you could be a Loxodon, but how many modern fantasy characters are elephant people? Like,
although, to be fair, whenever he does an episode and gets to make someone who's not a variant human, or he's like, you guys always vote for humans, I don't know what to tell you, he's always so happy. He's like, I'm doing the Minotaur from Hades, and he's a Minotaur, and I get to use the Minotaur race. I remember one point where he did Edward Elric, and he's like, he's short, I can't make him a halfling, but I want to so bad. So then after that episode, I made my own Edward Elric, who was in fact a halfling artificer, and it made me happy.
But moving on to a more topical subject, what's new with you, Richard?
So, with it being week 4, because my school counts it by week rather than any other metric of time, and then there's just a reading week that doesn't count to the week calendar. Anyway, so assignments have started to ramp up. So I finished my screenplay. We have an assignment, and this assignment makes me so happy, because my favorite thing to talk about is how I would do a series better with no evidence to back that claim. I've had hours of this conversation. So I like to be like, oh yeah, here's how I would fix Ruby, because I clearly could do better. Hopefully someone's laughing in the background. Or here's how I'd fix Bleach, this multi-billion-dollar mega franchise that spawned 4 movies, 12 video games, a stage play, and a musical. Yeah, I can just do better than this guy. So my assignment is...
the idea that you can fix what's not technically broken.
Because,
anyways, go on.
So, my class is, one's reading like a writer, where we literally read over text and analyze how it works. One is substantive editing, which, is super useful skill. And my assignment for substantive editing is they gave us a passage of Hemingway. Great American author. If any of my colleagues in my program are listening to this, they hate him with a burning passion. Ooh, and the assignment is we're giving this chunk of Hemingway, but we have to suggest edits to him to make it either a comedy or a horror. So we can't change the text, really, because it's not a copy edit. We can't just write entire paragraphs. Instead, we have to suggest things like spacing, word choice, stylistic details to edit Hemingway into either a comedy or a horror piece. And I love this assignment because this is what I do for fun. So I'm going to make Hemingway into the driest, most British comedy ever, and it's going to be so delightful because it's so serious. And I find that to turn something serious to a comedy, i.e. my good friends at Arrested Development, all you have to do is make things increasingly ridiculous and have no one comment on it. Like, if you straight face use an entire episode to set up a pun about there being no God, that is just peak comedy.
Oh, that was pretty good, and the Justice is Blind joke was also really good because there was a blind dog named Justice. Oh, that was such a good fun. That was like 3 or 4 episodes to set up for Justice is Blind.
Yep. So, in conclusion, that's what's new with me is working on this Hemingway assignment and cackling to myself. Because I'm just getting a lot of assignments I'm on board with. Like, write a screenplay. I'm like, I guess I'll make a new one instead of using any in my folder labeled screenplay : ? So, with that being what I'm up to, just taking Hemingway and just be like, I can make this better by making it a sitcom. What's new with you?
Well, I mean, you can definitely do these sorts of things to make yourself feel better in the winter months, because like, I mean, we live far enough north that in the winter time, the sun doesn't rise till like 10 in the morning. And
you live far enough north that
like
I've done
6
entire
PM.
shifts where I would go to work and it was dark, and I'd leave work and it was dark, and it was like a 6-hour shift.
Yeah, exactly. The winter is definitely a really tough time for getting good amount of sunlight and vitamin D and all that kind of stuff. And this is probably why people do like springtime cleaning and whatnot, because when the sun starts to come out, they start to feel more energized to actually do their stuff. But regardless, I rearranged my room and I cleaned it up for the first time in like 6 months. So that was actually pretty. It made me feel pretty productive. Now I have way more space. It's more comfortable for streaming and recording podcasts and stuff. So that's what I've been up to.
That is low key. I mean, some reviewers are disappointed you didn't handle any explosives in this process or damage any electronic equipment. But I, as your genuine friend who's concerned with your well-being, is proud of you. And with that,
I do have a chin-up bar that I want to install.
Here we go. This
which
is what I need.
Well, I haven't installed this chin-up bar because I use a stud finder to find the studs.
And you keep doing that joke where you point it to yourself and laugh?
No, I leave that to other people. But I was using the stud finder for its genuine purpose. Except right where I can find the stud, and then I'm searching for the other one, and it just like keeps beeping and finding weird stuff in the wall, and I'm just like, uh-oh. Like, the chin-up bar, the bolts are like freaking huge. Like, probably 1/4 inch like threads to like screw into the wall, because it's supposed to support a lot of weight. And they're pretty long. They're probably like 2-3 inches long.
Yeah, it does have to support either one Karl or half a Miko.
But there's something weird in the wall exactly where I wanted to put it, and I'm like, I don't want to like be like drilling through the wall and then like hit a gas line and blow out the side of my house. But now my room is clean and it's ready to be installed, and so I'm just gonna like drill lightly into the wall, and maybe next week you guys will hear about a house explosion. But I'll have my chin-up bar, god damn it.
So my version of the story is definitely the whole house has collapsed and there's just a chin-up bar, like a rod of holding in D&D, just clicked into place, floating there majestically, and that's it. Excellent. So, shall we get into today's episode topic?
Yeah, sure.
So, what's a moment of beautiful defeat, or maybe we just have someone in high places watching our podcast? We've casually name-dropped the series Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, a manga I read in, like, grade 12 because it had a cool title, so I clicked on it. And...
Well, I was going to say, it's entirely possible that the episode of on time traveling that we did, like, actually just made this come into fruition. Like,
oh, for sure. Like, that time travel episode is definitely airing last week because of magic. And by magic, I mean moved. So, in theory, if our episode is being sent out into space via some kind of signal, and then gets hit in a gravitational distortion between two black holes, accelerating the data stream fast enough, and then it goes through a quasar, and then gets quantum entangled back before the origin, someone may have watched it early. Or it's just one of those people who clicks first on a URL link before the video is posted.
But anyway, we definitely, like, I specifically name dropped Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer in that episode because there is it's not central to the plot, but there is some time travel to that story.
Yeah, and we've definitely dropped it a few times too. Like, I think we even name dropped it during Final Space because there was some narrative overlap. It probably got name dropped during our weekly Show and Jump review because it was so iconic. But to wrap this up, it is getting animated a decade after the fact. And I saw this news and I'm like, we actualized this into Will. Because no one has read this thing but me, Carl, and a coworker I used to work with named Nolan back at Redacted Theaters. Those are the only 3 people I've ever known who have read this thing. And like, most people I've read it are because I've told them to read it specifically while shaking their shoulders.
Well, and I mean, one of the things that I really appreciate about it is it's only 65 chapters, 64 or 65, I don't remember. But it doesn't feel like it got canceled. Like, I recently reread a series in the Shonen Jump called Siren. It has like about 145 chapters, which isn't too bad of a length to actually sit down and read.
Can I give a side note
me.
about Siren quickly? So when Siren was first coming out in Show and Jump, I really thought it'd be animated or be the next big thing. So I took the protagonist's name as my Xbox gamer tag, thinking, oh man, this is going to be hilarious because I'll be the first person with this name. No payoff ever happened.
Well, I was going to say, like, that is definitely a series that felt like it ended, but not because the author wanted to.
Where my friend Bleach has the opposite problem, where I feel like it ended despite the author wanting to bail months ago and being forced to continue drawing it. I have to assume Sword Point.
Yeah, Bleach definitely continued well after what felt like the most satisfying conclusion. And I find that, like, a lot of mangas that are I would say more than 150 chapters tend to feel like the author doesn't actually have an ending that they think they're going to reach within their lifetime.
Like, for example, in the runtime of One Piece, you could watch all of The Simpsons.
yeah, like the One Piece just has so many episodes with so much content.
I'm going to edit the number
and so many chapters.
Anything longer than 108 chapters, I'm going to say, because Full Metal Alchemist was 108 chapters. Anything longer than that will have some implosion issues.
Yeah, because it's hard to maintain your story all the way to the end and actually give every single thing that you foreshadowed payoff, and still have your fans be able to remember what you foreshadowed and how you did it without having to, like, go back. I mean, maybe authors are trying to increase their reread value for those sorts of Easter eggs, but
well, it's kind of like I briefly touched on.
I like series that just end, and that the author feels like they intentionally ended it where it did.
Like, to follow up on that, I even mentioned something similar last week for My Hero Academia, where they had a traitor subplot about episode 7, where it's like, how did they get into school? Oh, there's a traitor. But by the time that actually came up, most people who I know who are watching the show right now, like, not like past fans, like, are currently catching up on it, completely forgot about the subplot. So it's like dramatic reveal. I'm like, the problem with your dramatic reveal is no one cares anymore. The show stopped being about a hero school a while ago.
In any event, Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer,
All right.
they, like, part of that time travel element is where one of the characters who dies fairly early in the series mentions this, like, oh, I had a dream where I fought you on a staircase, and then you were super powerful. And then you get to watch that fight play out. Like, that actually comes back around.
So we should probably give a brief summary about what this show is. So, to set the premise, and lately I've been going over Blake Snyder's Save the Cat model of specific story beats. And one of the things is your protagonist is supposed to save a cat at the start to show they're a good person. Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer in the first chapter does a reverse Save the Cat, which I call Kick the Cat. And it is done to amazing effect. So
yeah, I would definitely say so. Are we going to do this like the one sentence summary, or?
I believe so. If we had practiced this, I'd say, like, let's do it as like a haiku battle, but we just simply don't have the ability to do that on the fly. I wish we were that good, but Deep Space and novels is not a series yet. So, all right, I'll kick us off. So we start with a college-age protagonist, which, big plot twist, a college-age protagonist. So we still have the some school tropes, but I can't think of another college-age protagonist who's literally in college. Because either you're already a 500-year-old immortal bounty hunter, or you're 16. Those are your two options for anime.
But so our college-age protagonist, he
wakes up with a lizard.
Yeah, he wakes up with the lizard that tells him he has psychic powers.
It does not tell him he has psychic powers. Because it starts where it could be magic or sci-fi, you don't know. Instead, the lizard's like, you're the chosen one to fight in the cliche anime battle royale on behalf of the princess. And he's like, I'm high. And just throws the lizard out the window.
Which is actually, like, part of the reason that we like this is because that's what someone would do. They wake up and they're the lizard. They would probably assume that they're hallucinating or try and, like, throw it out or whatever. But since the lizard comes back, he is actually forced to confront the fact that this lizard is real and that the cliche anime villain of the golems are, well, I guess they're just kind of bland villains, but these golems attack him and he's forced to attack them.
The surprisingly well done number villains, which I'll touch on later. So he has the lizard, and the lizard's like, okay, you have the power of domain control where you can move an object with your mind, but you're a wimp, so your power is wimpy. So, and a bit of a disclaimer, a lot of anime has weird fan service sexualization nonsense. This particular series, I will never know if they were parodying the concept or not. Because his characters are weirdly self-aware about this. Like, the first thing he does is like, I'm going to try and flip up their skirt. And then in the cliche moment, the person walks up, decks him, and he's like, yep, that's my life. I deserve this. Like, yeah, you do. And the big difference being, well, that's my life. I'm a jackass. It's like, yeah, you are, and you acknowledge this. Don't do that. It's bad. And then he doesn't do it again.
At least not. Well, yeah, because then every other time that he sees her panties and she asks about it,
she specifically goes home and changes. There's no accident happening here. She's planning. Well, yeah, she's deliberately setting up this skit.
Fair enough. But so the kick the cat moment is where our college-age protagonist meets the princess that he's supposed to protect in this weird golem war, and it turns out that her motivation is that she won't let the Earth be destroyed because she wants to own the Earth, and the only way to own the Earth is for her to just destroy it herself. And
then your protagonist is like, wait, so you want to save the world to blow it up? I am doubling down on this. I wasn't into this before. Hero of Justice? Nah, I'm a college student. I'm way too bitter for that. But save the planet and then surprise, we're gonna blow it up? 100% I'm in. This sounds great. Where do I sign?
Yeah. And so after he agrees to help the princess, then some of the other animal knights begin to show up because he's the lizard knight. So then there's like a dog knight, a snake knight,
a swordfish
an owl knight.
Because it doesn't follow.
Swordfish knight, yeah.
So it feels like at first like, okay, we're gonna get a zodiac, and you realize no, it's just random animals, which they explain later. Because this series manages to, without using any actual exposition, casually explain everything.
It does manage to casually explain everything. I mean, the arc with Swordfish Knight is a little bit exposition heavy, but at the same time, because of the medium, it does do a lot more showing rather than telling.
And also, the payoff for the Swordfish Knight subplot is ridiculous, because it pays off on the second last chapter, and you're like, oh, I see. Oh, full circle. Oh, wow, yeah, no. He had a shitty 200 years of his life and was pretty much immortal as punishment. Oh, what? That's so good.
Yeah, this. On the one hand, everything being linked back together is like something that I sometimes don't enjoy. Like particularly if there's episodes where there's like a flashback in the show where it's like all the characters meet each other but they're younger, and then somehow they've forgotten that they met each other by the time they actually become friends.
Fun fact, that's the exact plot of Final Fantasy VIII.
It just kind of bugs me that the world feels like it truly revolves around the characters that we're watching. But on the other hand, Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer has a lot of little like strands and stuff that you're like, oh, I don't know if that's going to pay off, because it like comes up in one chapter and doesn't come up again for like 5-10 chapters. But eventually, very, very subtly, everything comes back around and actually pays off. And like, it's a fantastic coming of age story where everything revolves around the characters, but it doesn't feel like everything revolves around the characters.
Like, I gave this speech about plots coming together when we were just having a casual chat last week, where it's like, okay, for the Save the Cat model, you want to have a B. Basically, when you do subplots, like you have an A plot and a B plot, you want the B plot to provide the solution to the A plot. And someone that does that masterfully, it feels like a natural coming together. Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, I think maybe had 4 plot threads going. And then all 4 hit in rapid succession.
Succession, yeah.
And each one had slightly more payoff than the last. Like the first chapter pays off in the third last chapter in a truly magnificent way. Because one thing that sets this apart from the murder revenge fantasy manga, which I hate as a genre, it's just a genre now. It's like, I died, I was reborn in another world, and my life sucks, so I'm just going to be the worst. Is a genre. A genre of coming back is the worst. Which really is interesting. Like, I could do a full episode on the social economic implications that the most popular genre in Japan right now is being hit by a truck to wake up anywhere else. Because it's never like you get whisked away and return having learned a hero's journey. No, people just want to die and come back with god powers. But what makes this different is our protagonist wants to destroy the world for a really heart-wrenching reason. Her core motivation is, before the start of the series, she was terminally ill but in remission. And her logic is she doesn't want everyone she loves to go on living their lives without her. And the solution to that is to blow the planet up. And it's like...
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a childish reason. So it's kind of like a cartoon villain almost like reasoning. But at the same time, at the start of the series, she is 15. So it's like she's a young adult, I suppose. But it's like she is a child, and all of her logic and reasoning makes sense. And then like the college age protagonist, he's got metaphorical chains on his life because of when his parents died, and then he was in abusive. His grandfather seems to have been an abusive caretaker.
He basically took overprotective to beyond the extreme, where it's like, I'm worried something will happen to you like your parents, so I'll chain you up in the basement.
So some of the chains are real, I suppose.
The series got dark. It's balanced tone remarkably well.
So it deals with a lot of really hard subjects, and it's children dealing with death because characters actually do die, and
people die when you kill them, which is
by and large stay dead. Yeah, it's.
Oh man, could Bleach have benefited from that? They introduced their 12 knights and one villain, literally just the one dude. The golems are just numbered stages, effectively, in a video game. Literally, this is the main villain's I'm gonna play a video game, kill my golems, and if you succeed, I don't blow the planet up. To the point where when he loses the game, he flips the table, literally, by rolling up, I'll just kill you myself, this is some bullshit. You cheated. So, he literally goes to flip the table himself. But what works is their cast shrinks. It doesn't ever grow in size. By the time they have the chapter where it's I've assembled my 12 knights, you watch the cast slowly shrink down, which lets you really get into it with each character.
I mean, somewhat of a spoiler alert, by the time she assembles her 12 knights, there's only 10 left.
And another thing that's really interestingly did well that I picked up on my reread is, at the start she gets a lot of screen time. But to parallel her own, diminishing health, she gets to do less and less as more characters come through. Which shows her, entire core theme is she's getting sick, and her illness is coming back in a way, and she gets to do less and less, and she's watching everybody work together through the power of spirit, friendship, and show and jump antics. And it really just makes her I'm so happy for everyone. I need to kill you all with me.
I don't know if it actually categorizes as a shonen series, though.
Well, that's the
I
thing
think it might be a little bit too serious.
I might call it genreless, honestly, because they love to group things into age groups. Shonen for 8 to 35, apparently. What was that one that I read where you're apparently this is for middle-aged women? I'm well, I liked it, so suck it.
I forget what the name for that genre is, but yeah, it was definitely it was the Record of a Fallen Vampire, I think.
No, that one was it was Midnight Secretary, which was basically just trashy Twilight style novel, but actually written by adults for adults, so I enjoyed it. It's it's sordid office romance, but also he's a vampire.
I mostly brought up the genre to bug you about it, because I actually also enjoyed the series, although it's been such a long time that I don't remember much about it.
But to circle back around to our core topic here, so I wouldn't really put this one in a genre because it feels at the start like you're reading something Naruto-esque. But I'd say around the time that the first, spoiler, character gets impaled, straight up dead, I'm oh! I mean, characters, sure, they eventually die in things like Naruto and Bleach. But they don't die brutally and suddenly out of nowhere. They usually have an entire heroic sacrifice built up, and then have a 50-50 shot of someone magically healing them afterward anyway. You're not going to watch My Hero Academia and just watch half the class get impaled. It would be amazing. But that's just not the tone they go for. But weirdly...
Well, okay, I was gonna say, the tone is very well balanced, and all the plots really pay off, and it's kind of a short and sweet series, and we are very excited to see it get animated.
The best part is they can throw money at it because it's a completed thing. They can just do up the 50 episodes or 26. Anime usually falls as either 26 or 52. I think they could do it in either. I would prefer the 52. I think that would let them hit on everything and flesh it out fully. But I could see it you wouldn't really lose out anything on 26.
But unfortunately, we're running a little bit short on time, I think. So we should probably, when it comes out, check out for it, because if you can't find the original source material, you'll be able to watch the anime, and I mean, hopefully the animation quality is as good as anime has been for the past season here.
And on a different note, one of the lines in the series was, "I'm going to crush the earth flat like a giant pastry," and that's just delightful. And weirdly, we didn't really touch on the time travel aspects because we covered that in last week's episode. So if you want to know more of our thoughts on time travel, that we somehow managed to not talk about Terminator or Back to the Future in our time travel episode. Alright, so let's go into our random dragon question of the week. This question comes in. Okay, this is a pretty straightforward one. It's less random because it's kind of on a topic we touched on before. What Pokemon should be dragon types but isn't? No Charizards.
What Pokemon should be dragon type but isn't, with not including Charizard? Trying to think. Dragon-shaped Pokemon.
Weirdly, I kind of am going to go a weird take with this one. I'm going to say Dunsparce. So Dunsparce is a normal Pokemon that's just terrible, but it has little wings and a little drill tail and a dumb face. And I feel like a regional variant of Dunsparce that is the exact same but is also a dragon. It would add that little bit of pop that it desperately needs.
I'm gonna go with the more obvious one, Gyarados. Being flying water, I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time,
also
it would be
dragon.
a little better if he was a water dragon.
I agree. And as a bonus third one, I was watching a video today that had a similar topic, which may have been the suggester for all I know, anonymous questions and whatnot, who mentioned that he wants Arcanine to be part dragon to make it more majestic. And
yeah, that would be pretty excellent.
Here is our random question of the week, which I think was done out of spite. Here it comes in. What is the strangest thing in your refrigerator?
The strangest thing in my refrigerator?
Yep.
Well, I mean, I recently cleaned out my refrigerator, but when I was cleaning out my refrigerator,
what was the craziest thing?
Well, I don't know how many people like cottage cheese in general.
I do.
But I realized somewhat recently when making a cheesecake that you can get what's called dry cottage cheese, which is the cottage cheese but without any of the whey. And it's literally just like a dry crumble of cheese. But my refrigerator, when you put stuff on the top shelf, it tends to freeze things, so I had to throw out a bunch of frozen dry cottage cheese.
So I like cottage cheese with seasoning salt. Personally, I think it makes a great side dish when paired next to pierogies.
What, do you use dry cottage cheese, or do you use the regular whey-filled cottage cheese?
The regular whey, because if you have a bite of the cottage cheese and a bite of the crispy seared pierogi, perfect. And then you have some green onions and some bacon on that plate, and then you've hit all the food groups without making a single healthy choice.
Well, I bought the dry cottage cheese because some recipes for cottage cheese ask for ricotta or something like that, and ricotta is slightly drier cheese anyways. And I was like, I don't know where to find ricotta, but I can find this dry cottage cheese. And then also, it'll help me make a lasagna that's not super soupy and liquidy.
I see. That's actually some pretty solid points. So, for me, I also did a fridge purge a couple days ago. But I'm going to go with what's in there for a leftover right now. A few days back, I made crab mac and cheese, where I seared up some crab, imitation fake crab, red peppers, Old Bay spice, garlic butter. So I sauteed all that. Then I mixed in with the Kraft dinner and then did the breadcrumb. And since I don't have panko flakes, I used a hammer and soda crackers like you do. So I did the cheesy baked top. And I'm like, yeah, crab mac and cheese. No one makes artificial crab mac and cheese. That's just insane. You took a high quality ingredient and paired it with garbage. Which I really think if me and you were to co-write a cookbook, which we should, or maybe do a weekly cooking stream if we get fan requests for it. Our whole thing is classy ingredient plus trashy ingredient. That is our motif. I believe me and you have made enough weird recipe combos that if one of us says a classy ingredient, the other says a garbage one, and that's our episode? I don't know.
Well, yeah, but the peanut butter ramen pancake butter, the burgers that we made with the ramen cakes, they did not turn out well. The peanut butter ended up burnt. It was sad.
Yeah, but it is worth discussing these things. Oh man, what would we call it? Trash and treasure? How to ruin a good ingredient? But thank you everybody for tuning in, and if you want us to do a food podcast, send in those requests, comment on our videos, because I would be happy to just talk food with my chef friend here.
And if you are interested in hearing us banter together while we play video games, we also do streams on Twitch, which we then post on YouTube.
In
So
theory,
just
we'll be
keep an
doing
eye out
them.
for that.
On theory, at the time of this video recording, maybe 2 o'clock at 3. We don't know. Time is a weird soup. But if you find us on, come show us some love and support. And
yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll talk more about some food items. But even have a great week, and eat some excellent gourmet trash.
Indeed, Trash Pandas, the cooking show. Bye.
Bye.